2026 agenda and the November 19th, 2025 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Radke. Any discussion? Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Are you? Aye.
Sorry.
Hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Thank you.
Why don't you smile?
She is smiling.
Oh.
No, she's not. Okay.
Public comments. Anybody online?
No.
Okay. Chairperson comments. When we get to item number 6 on our agenda, Department of Public Works report, we're gonna merge 6 and 7 together without an objection. Because most of Ben's report, when we met yesterday, is gonna have to do with the Second Street project. Well, Dan, right?
Yes, Dan.
Dan is here from MSA. So without objection, we can just meld them together and go right into that at Ben's direction. And then, with just the three of us, just Lon, you have anything, or Betsy have anything? You don't need the chair's recognition to speak, just it's kind of like a barroom discussion we'll have.
Okay.
Then also Lon and Betsy, I would like to keep our meetings from here forward on the first Wednesday. Because it's 1 week before our board meeting, things are fresher on the mind, and for me anyway, at my age. And then also the day before FHR, and being the committee that has the biggest share of the village budget. I think that's important, and then Lon, you serving on this committee also would kind of tie everything together. But that will be Madam President's call, you know, as far as straightening out, but if we don't have any problems, I'd like to keep it on the first Wednesday, and the time anywhere between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, but 4 o'clock, 4:30, I would prefer. And you can make those from school, correct? 4:30 especially, Betsy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, so we are now gonna move on. That's chairperson's comments right there. I kind of pushed the envelope. Ben would have told me to be quiet sooner or later. Ben, you and Dan, take her away.
All right, well, we're gonna go right in the Second Street presentation. I'm Dan Bocart from MSA. I've been between the Public Works job and this job in the last 10 years. I've worked with Dan on different projects, bike trails, road projects, and different things like that. So, me and Dan have got a good relationship. We work well together. Over the past 10 years, we've also been always applying for the clean water, and the dirty water for Second Street, the project that we're talking about. So this has been an ongoing project with MSA in the village for many years on, trying to figure out how we can get the finances to do this project. So now we're here in 2026, and we're looking to plan, to rebuild Second Street from Market Avenue, which is right out in front of our doors here, all the way to the north, which is Babunker, which in the past couple of years, we've worked from the north to the south and got up to Babunker. So this project here will kind of tie us all together. As we know, we're working this year from Edwards Avenue all the way up to behind the shopping center is this 2026 project. So in 2027, if we can put this project together, we've rebuilt our Second Street, which is our main sewer line for the village. It's our secondary water line, because we've got the small water tower off Ripple Creek. And it also is the main entrance for the school district and the church on the end. So Second Street does accommodate a lot of different things. I'll let Dan kind of get in, but over the last couple of months, the board passed a CDBG grant that we worked on back in October and November through MSA, that we were able to get surveys from our residents. All the surveys have been completed, and we're on the next stage for the CDBG grant. We've also worked with MSA on the LRIP funds through Wood County. Those are all in the hands of representatives down in Madison. And Dan has a presentation on how all these mechanisms will work towards financials of this project. In 2027, we're basically going to be, the only thing we're going to be doing that's been money-wise will be designing and getting this all ready to go for a board approval of the whole project. We're hoping for September or August. Dan will give us some timelines when some of these mechanisms for grants village will let us know if we receive those. And then we'll move forward to see what we do with the project. So I'll let Dan take over and kind of go through the sheets in your packet on the different mechanisms of the grants.
All right, thanks, Ben. So we ran an overall cost estimate for the project, and that cost estimate is included with your packets. Dollar wise, for the entire project cost, we're estimating it to be around $3,322,000 end to end on the project. What we did with the funding scenarios that I gave you is ran different options. The first page in your packet is simply looking at what is the advantage of using the DNR Safe and Clean Drinking Water Loan Program. What it evaluates is what is the overall cost that could be covered by that program, as well as what are the admin fees, the potential loan amount. With this program, you do have a grant possibility with it. It's called principal forgiveness. What they do is they rank projects in their, we call them priority ranking lists. And what it does is the principal forgiveness gets kind of based on the highest priority of for the state. That project gets principal forgiveness at a certain percentage based on the income level of the community. And however far those funds go down the list, that's where you land. Typically, water and sewer projects like this on just a street reconstruction project don't always rank the highest compared to other well projects or projects that have secondary contaminants. PFAS is a big one now, but they've also stuck more funding into the pot to hopefully cover some of the state's PFAS issues. So there's still a chance that, you know, the village could receive principal forgiveness. So the first line, this first box says DNR loan with PF. That's principal forgiveness. Let's say the village maxed out the principal forgiveness at $618,568. That would leave a loan amount of $1,443,000. With this program, the village is eligible for 2.59%, which is highly competitive for a loan. And compared to all the other loan options, such as a general obligation trust fund through the state or a local bank, or just even a state revenue trust fund, those loans are significantly higher in rates. So that's the current information we have. The 2.59 hasn't changed. So that is the current rate that the DNR would give you for a 20-year loan on the project. The question is, do you know, 20 years, you could probably pay it back sooner than 20 years if you wanted to, but just for the sake of how long they would give you the money and what the payments would be, we have a payment per period, which is an annual payment of $93,000. With the DNR loan program, you'd still be looking at interest cost on that loan amount of $423,278. So that would be the interest paid over 20 years on that loan, unless you paid it off early. We also ran, if you start looking at the lines to the right of that first line, the DNR loan with no principal forgiveness, what your loan would potentially be with that dollar or value of money for a GO, local bank, and a revenue trust fund. So that was kind of our first analysis, is showing you that going the safe and clean water route probably is going to be your most advantageous borrowing of money long term. So the first scenario, as Ben had mentioned, the village is applying for an LRIP grant. So LRIP is Local Road Improvement Plan. It's mainly for transportation improvements, which covers street and storm improvements. It doesn't cover utilities. It's a grant through the DOT. This is a discretionary grant. So the grant, you submit it to the county ranks them. Port Edwards ranked second within the county or first in the county? First in the county. They send those rankings down to the state. State reviews them in January. In June, typically, is when you would find out if you would be awarded LRIP grant money. Not knowing if CDBG would come in or not, Ben and I applied for the entire length of the project, the full 3,200 feet, give or take. And so you'll see the scenario, we have still our safe and clean water fund programs. We didn't apply any principal forgiveness in this scenario because this is the worst case scenario for village planning purposes. So we had both DNR loans. We have the LRIP grant, which is a 50-50 grant. So if we applied for 1.6 million, give or take. So if the village gets 833,000 of that, the village has to still match 50-50, but the local share, because part of the DNR fund covers 20% of the street cost, we're able to knock the local funds down to 501,000. And assuming you got a interest rate of around 5% from the local bank, you would still be looking at closing on a DNR loan or 2 DNR loans plus a local loan to cover that. The thing with LRIP, it's a reimbursement loan, so you need while construction is happening, you need an interim loan through your bank and pay for everything and then apply for reimbursement after the project's 100% complete and the contractor and the engineer and everybody's paid. Oh, because you have to show receipt that everything's canceled checks, so they make sure that everything is paid out. So that scenario, you can kind of see what the overall numbers are for the village and that local fund column on that one. Then we ran a scenario, let's say you don't get LRIP, but you get CDBG on the project, and the CDBG grant, because of the schools there, I believe this was all explained when we were looking at the survey area for CDBG. CDBG can only cover from Levine down to Market Street. And so the project costs in that area are not quite at the 1.5 million. 1.5 million would maximize the dollars for the village. But in this scenario, you would still get 66% of that project cost for that length.
I think I asked you, Ben, yesterday and we met, what is the reason for that?
It was due because of financials, because of the school, the income, we did income surveys and from the residents, and Dan maybe knows a little better about why we.
School, because of the water tower and the school being there, would be considered a community benefit. And when you have a community benefit, then it opens up the survey to the entire population, which is a randomized survey that takes longer to complete. And then your chances of being eligible for submitting an application goes way down, because as a community, Village of Port Edwards did not qualify as a whole. So
That makes sense.
so we had to cut the project off there, unfortunately, which reduced the potential funding you could get with that program, but.
Yeah, we got a church north of the school property, so.
Right. So we looked at it with CDBG, loan amounts, assuming that the loan amounts stayed similar to each other. Your local fund share goes down, slightly, but in essence, if you just had CDBG on the project, your local share would be fairly close, within $50,000 of what we would, with the funding, admin and stuff like that, that has to be included with the local funds, you're looking at pretty comparable with either getting both grant applications and what they would pay for. And then the last scenario, which complicates the scenarios, because LRIP and CDBG can't overlap. You can't use federal grant dollars to pay for the local share of the LRIP program. So essentially you have two different projects, and they're gonna have to be bid as Project A and Project B if the village receives both grant applications. So what this does is because you can put more into the LRIP category, this would reduce your LRIP grant. Let's say they awarded 1.6, we would have to ask the DOT to rescope it to the north half of the project, and so that the CDBG and LRIP won't overlap. That project cost would then be about $1 million for the north half of the project, about 1,900 feet. So your potential for LRIP goes down to 500,000. You still maximize your CDBG at 885. And then your local funds gets significantly reduced on that level. Your DNR loan also gets reduced proportionally. Now, keep in mind that in order to hit your local fund match, the DNR loan is covering about 300,000 to get you up to the 500,000. So you can use DNR loan money because it is local share to pay the part of the 50% for the LRIP.
This is the best scenario, obviously, if we'd get.
If you get both grants,
This would be the Cadillac, we could
this,
say.
yeah, this would be the ideal.
But we'd have to have it in project A and project B if we got both grants.
Correct. It still could be bid out at the same time. You could even delay one if you wanted to try to go for, a CDBG grant. You could award project A, go back another year for a CDBG grant, because you have on the surveys 5 years of eligibility. So you could likely, and last year they gave everybody who applied for CDBG a CDBG grant. So if, let's say, more people apply this year than they have money for, and let's say you're not selected, you would have a couple kicks at the can, and then we would just rebid that portion out at a later time and have a clean cutoff between the north and south project.
So what's the north part of the project here?
Levine Levine's the break. Levine is where the CDBG is, so CDBG from here is what, and then we just do from Levine to the north to start with. If we wanted to, that'd be project 2. One would be from here to Levine, and Levine to the north would be 2.
Just wanted to-
Project 1 or project 2 or project A and project B.
Whatever however you want to do it, A and B, 1 and 2, either way.
Well, we could put some
Levine
extra
is a-
numbers, project A, 147,
So how come
project B,
you smile
142.
When he's talking, and me, you just give me a frown.
Levine is the cutoff, that's the divider, so.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm putting some,
So the idea would be to design the whole thing, see what you get money for, and then apply the funding based on what you get money for. LRIP, you'd be able to apply for LRIP, but that's every 2 years. And you would have to construct, if you got CDBG money, within 18 months of receiving the award. The awards for the CDBG money wouldn't be found out until August of 2026. So it'd put you in a 2027 construction year for at least the CDBG between Market and Levine.
Which is essentially what we're looking
Yeah.
Right.
for.
question, what's the
Madam
cost
President, do you
of,
have anything to add? No?
what's the cost of the design cost?
The design was 257,
257,000.
correct, to do the entire design and bidding of the.
And that's
project.
this year what the 400 account, things like that we put in, that's what's gonna come out of all that.
Do we have the money to design it?
Yep, the water and the sewer will pay for their part of it. The streets has the 400 account to pay for
Yeah,
that.
Ben shared that with me yesterday, and that sounds pretty
Okay.
good.
So, at this point, the only thing the designing needs to get done regardless. And if we don't get the money, we've got the plan, we put it on the shelf, like Dan said, and then we can
The
read.
design always is there.
Yes.
It's always
Can
gonna be
rebid
good.
them.
10 years from now, 5 years, the design's the design.
And some standards might change, but for the most part,
Right.
we're gonna design it to.
I mean, we just had a water main break this morning on this road, so unfortunately, I mean, this road is a matter of, it's gonna need, right by the
Time bomb.
right by the football field on Jefferson, we had a 6-inch water main crack through this morning. So we know this project needs to be done. It's just a matter of, when the auditors come, and I told Dan, when the auditors come here in February, I'll ask Chairman FHR and Public Works to meet with the auditors. We can kind of share this stuff with him. I'll have Dan available on the phone so we can have the auditor really understand the different scenarios, so he can help us show where's the best financial mechanisms from the village side to make these loan payments and things like that. And then obviously come August, we'll start to know what we have for different grants coming in. We can make a decision as a full board to move forward with this project once we receive some.
Well,
yes or
June,
no.
you'll know if you got LRIP, and then LRIP will have to, wait until August to see if we rescope it. Once you get LRIP money, you have 5 years to complete the project, so it's not a pressing.
And you will be part of that discussion if we get those grants?
Oh,
You'll
yeah,
be here?
absolutely.
You guys still offer that 10% discount?
Every time.
Is this now too, I guess, if our village crew does any work, I mean, are these numbers bid out as somebody
They
else
have
comes in?
to- Yes.
Somebody else you can't,
Federal money and.
federal money, you have to have certain contractors use it, right?
Accounts to do it.
Okay. Because it's the grant and they want,
Yeah.
What was
who
that?
they, well, it's like a
Yeah.
contractor, there's certain federal contractors that I was wondering if if our guys rip the blacktop off or something, they won't use local funds like that or
No.
anything.
You'd be paying for all that on your own.
Yeah,
But county isn't,
Because of Davis Bacon, everything's tied to Davis Bacon wages on these projects, so.
okay,
So we have right now in the scope of everything is to have MSA, you know, bid this project, and then from there, we're gonna try to do as much as like we always do in-house with the construction side, but we'd have to have MSA help with some of the financials, with the grants and making sure that we're doing the right paperwork, but we'll definitely, and me and Dan have had that conversation. He knows that I like to run as much as I can through what we can, our staff, once we get the bidding done. But there's some stuff that we're not gonna be able to do in-house, so we'll have to use that
Right.
for, and we're just gonna kind of do that on a time and materials basis. It won't be just so we can keep things moving.
now this design cost, did we already approve that? We have the money in it for this
That was
year?
the- Yeah, that was in the 400 account.
Okay,
If they actually started before the holiday, they started doing some, once we set the budget for last year, they started doing some survey work. And, they're gonna keep working on designing and getting that all ready to go, because they need that designing to finish up with some of the grant
To
applications.
submit in May, we have to have, they like to see it 100% design. And so for market to Levine, we gotta have it pretty close to 100%. There is some things that, you know, they're not gonna pay attention to that we'd be able to delay some of it. Like our plans, we can get to probably 75% and make them look like 100% plans, but still be adding the details and finalizing the bid forms and spec documents between now and then and bidding it out. So we're still able to do that. The north section, the LRIP section, the part that's not eligible for CDB, we could probably get by with. I'd like to run it together so that I'm having consolidated meetings with Ben and we're discussing everything together. Versus, you know, saying that one's at 30%, this one's at 75% for these different sections. So I'll try to make sure that it follows a similar milestone completion date.
good. Yeah, I guess, what do you think our eligibility is to get both grants or just one grant? I know you can't, do we have a higher percentage than 50-60%, or is it? I guess it does matter on the design, and I know you say how we rank in different fundings.
The DNR principal forgiveness, I think, is gonna be probably a long shot.
Okay.
It can trickle down. That's why I ran the scenarios without the PF money, just because I think right now the state's flooded with PFAS and the places with other primary contaminants, high nitrates, high things in their water system. Lead service lines is another big issue at the state level. I don't know, Ben, if you confirmed if that's lead out there when you had these,
We've got a couple different areas, so I know I'm working on
Lead
maps
services?
now. Yeah, and some services, we sent out a survey for services. So I'm hoping to get that back in the next month to see if we can apply for the water.
the number of breaks, the amount of lead that you have in the system in this area, it will make a difference on your scoring. So I need some documentation to submit with it. So if you can put that together, the applications for Safe and Clean are due in June, or Safe is June 30th, Clean is September 30th. So they fall kind of right in between when you're getting the other grants, and you'd be able to close on the loan prior to construction starting in 2027. And if you do both projects together, it's gonna be more advantageous to borrow all the money from the DNR versus having a separate. So if you decide to wait another year to do it and have to reclose on a DNR loan, it's gonna probably cost more than just closing on the full amount together. So that
full steam ahead.
it was just, if you close on two different DNR loans and split the project up, they're probably gonna make you put it in two different fiscal cycles.
Okay,
We're working on the surveys with the residents, so I'll definitely have that information for you in June. And then I was trying to do some lead stuff on our own for other different areas, so. Yeah, we can definitely get that information. Like I said, the end goal for the village and the board situation is, no decisions are gonna be made to do any of this project until after we hear on some of the grants.
of course.
And then as a full board, we'll probably bring Dan back in. I'm hoping
Not
You know.
probably.
for sure we'll bring Dan back in August and see where we're at. He can kind of get these scenarios a little more locked down, present them probably to the FHR committee at that point, because that'll be what this will end up going to is the FHR committee.
Well, it's nice to know that we're doing the design work and we're getting that going and we're rolling on it. And then I guess the funding is, we'll have to figure that out as a board. As a whole, so.
I'm glad that you two are basically on the same page, so, you know, shit happen. Did you, do you have it censored, my, there, Dan? Anyway, thank you for smiling, Betsy, I appreciate it. It's just, when you get going and stuff like this, I mean, otherwise, it takes it from it all sounding like Greek to me. Just listening to you two explain it, I can get my hands around it, so you guys have done a hell of a job up to here and hope you keep it up. And then, when we talk to Troutman, is it gonna be advantageous to have Dan here for that one?
I'll probably have Dan set up a Zoom meeting and at least Dan
Good.
can zoom in or whatever. I'll share this with
He's our
Troutman.
accountant.
Familiar with John.
You know, and I think it's a good idea that we update the whole board as we go along.
Oh, absolutely.
Each month and say, okay, even if we're still in the design mode, you know, we're doing this, even if it's a short 2-minute thing, this is where it's going. So we don't end up, unfortunately, sometimes things kind of end up at the end of the year, they go, oh, we forgot about that project, or what are we doing with that? So if we at least every month, keep everybody informed, hey, just want to let you know, design work's still going, MSA, we're working with Dan, da. Okay, and
DPW director's report. He's the
Yep.
one that'll be doing it, talking.
Yep, no, we'll update the board that you guys and Dan was here and we're in the designing mode and see where we go. That way we got plenty of time, people ask questions and get all the scenarios down before we jump into this.
yeah, I don't want
Something
anybody,
new to us, the village has never borrowed for a road project, so and Dan knows it too. We've had discussions the last couple of years over this and this is what we knew we had to come to, and that's why we've got a whole year to definitely try to represent it to all the board members and people so that they understand.
well, I don't want anybody to be surprised at the end and say, hey, we didn't know that this was a project we were borrowing for, so.
Most of your expenses, aside from engineering expenses, are gonna happen in the next year. So we'd say any construction expenses, let's say it's bid out in March of next year. You probably won't have anything until June. You know, the contractor would probably get going in around May timeframe, so your borrowing wouldn't need to happen until next June.
Okay,
Anything else, gentlemen?
Betsy, is he still there?
I'm here. I just gotta pick up a kid from practice.
I thought you were making a pizza or something.
I'll be over.
No, that's,
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Yes, you're welcome.
So I'll just finish up. Thanks, Dan, for coming. If you want to hang out for a couple more minutes, I got a quick
Yeah.
finish my report and so back to the public works report. Obviously, the last since we met, we've been dealing with snow and ice. No issues with salt. I was able to order. We got our midterm fill up a 90-ton. No issues on salt shortage or running out. We're definitely in good shape there. Unfortunately,
Showing up on my driveway.
Unfortunately, the last couple nights, we've all known we've had to use way more than we wanted to, but it's kind of part of this time of year. But we're definitely, the guys are doing a heck of a job keeping up, coming in the morning, try to come in between 5:30 and 6 and get things melting before if there's school or local traffic starts moving. So appreciate their time and effort in the last couple days on that. Unfortunately, today, like I explained underneath our Second Street project, we had a water main break on Jefferson, a 6-inch water line, about 200 feet south of the little water tower, 6-inch line. We had a hairline crack. If you guys remember years ago when we did Third Street, that there was bedrock and different things. From what it looks like when we got to the break, it was just bedrock moved, about 2.5 feet of frost what we hit today. But we're able to Precision came in and we're able to jackhammer through it and dig it out and get a sleeve on it in a matter of 4 or 5 hours. There was nobody that was out of water. So between the crew and Precision, they did a great job getting that back and going. So we'll just keep monitoring our water system in, roads as we move forward. One thing, I've gotten some calls on rough roads. If you look just out here in our parking lot, obviously the heaves and the change in the ground, there's definitely some movement in blacktop. It's moving all over everywhere, so, I've gotten some calls on some rough areas and some potholes. At this point, there's nothing we really can do. We've been scraping to try to keep the roads clear, the water off it, and we'll see what happens over the weekend if we can get on, maybe try to fix some of the bigger potholes Friday, if not Monday. Another talk, maybe 1 to 3 inches over the weekend. So that's kind of on the roads. Today was the first day with the new trash company, Harders. Everything seems to be good and going good. Obviously, the cans from Waste Management have been picked up. We've been working with Waste Management to make sure we get the rest of the cans picked up and taken care of. We do realize some of the residents may be out of town for the holiday or south for the winter, and we'll work to get all those cans picked back up. If anybody sees any issues or has issues, let me know. I was in contact with Harders a couple of times
Let you know my feeling.
to make sure they were doing proper. It's kind of the same route that they've done in the past. They started at the south end of town this morning, worked to the north end. They started at 6 o'clock, which that was one of the things we kind of talked about during our contract period. And I know the houses across the river got picked up this afternoon on their way back on a different route. So keep monitoring that and keep updating you guys on that. Otherwise, that's really all I have. Probably the next month I'll bring our summer project for 2026 to you guys next month. We got some alleyway repairs and a few things, but at this point, this is all I have.
Alrighty, old business. I have nothing. I have nothing for new business. We kind of spent the last half hour or so on that. Ron, you got anything you want to bring up?
Well, correspondence received, I guess. I did get a call from a taxpayer about his taxes and then his evaluation. I guess it's kind of more for the FHR. I already spoke with Ben about it. He had texted me actually before the meeting. I just said that I would call him tonight after this meeting. I guess it's just more of a assessment value of his house, and me and Ben have spoken, and we're gonna give him routes that he can make contact with the assessor. And Ben, I think, had a chance to look at his tax bill, and it looks like other portions, not the village, had really gone up on his. So just want to let you know, and I'll bring that up at FHR.
You went the proper channel. The appraiser that's gotta do the explaining on that.
Oh, so definitely send him my way. You have my number. He can get hold of me and I can get him in that direction if he has any questions.
You have anything correspondence, Ben?
Nope, not this time.
Alright, any committee member comments otherwise? Agenda items for the next meeting, if you'd make a note, Ben, each month at committee time, I would like to have an update. You know, how you guys are going, how it's looking.
Okay, yep.
Just so we, no big surprises if the state gets a little touchy with their money, that type of thing, so. But if I have a chance, I do plan on calling my buddy Patrick Teston, maybe might help a little bit. He's not on any of those committees, but he's earned a little rank down in Madison, so. Never know.
It's always never hurts to talk to them and tell them to put in a good word for this project, so.
Without objection, I would like to have our next meeting, I believe it would be on February 4th, which is a Wednesday. And like I said, we have the times between,
Should we just keep it at 4:30?
that'd be fine, yeah. I asked Betsy, she's okay with the, she can make it. In other words, she'll be done at work at school by that time, so.
Yeah,
that work for you,
4:30
Betsy?
would be preferable. Yeah, 4:30 is a little bit preferable. They're a little bit later than my normal hours for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, if we could stick to 4:30 just to make sure I'm there, that'd be great.
But otherwise, Lon doesn't, I don't, of course, and you would be good with that first Wednesday?
Yeah, yep.
Alrighty, 4:30, February 4th. And without objection, I will declare the meeting adjourned at 5:06 PM. Thank you.
Have a good night, Betsy.
Right. What number did you want?